Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journals. My name's Kirsten. So I am doing some kind of, I would say it looks like Colourful and pop art and cartoons all mixed into one. So I have some small canvases. I think these are 6 by 6 inch square inches. And so what I have done is use my black posca pen and I've drawn out some shapes and really kind of used the colours and shapes that were already there as a kind of guide, but at the same time I put in my own shapes as well. So I have a giant pile of white heavy body acrylic paint to the side, and I am adding high flow acrylic inks to the paints and colouring in one shape at a time. So that was quinacridone magenta. So there's 3 of them. I have 3 on the go at the same time. I do each colour on each canvas before I move on to the next. That was a big area. Not sure what colour's next. I think it's red. My money's on red. Yellow. This yellow did not work. That is an acrylic ink that I have watered down a lot, purely because I'm too stingy to buy more, so I just keep watering them down so I can keep using them. But it doesn't, there's not enough yellow left in it to be able to mix it in with the white paint to make a proper yellow. So I kind of did this style of painting by accident a few days ago when I was just messing about with another failed painting, and it was really annoying me who it was like, and I thought to myself, that Colour by Felix channel does these kind of colour-filled paintings where it's a block of colour in different sections. He does lots of different styles, like he does a lot of landscapes. It's not just this one style, but it did make me think of him. So that was ultramarine blue that I've just added again to the white. So all the coloured areas end up with about 3 layers. The first layer I do use mostly the acrylic inks, and then I go on and I use more acrylic paints and I mix colours together as well. So I really like the kind of blobby shapes. They are fun and I like the flow of the lines, and I like the way that when I paint them, I just naturally gravitate towards, following the outline of the shape. And there's something kind of very relaxing about this. I found this extremely relaxing. And I have a second grandson coming in a few weeks. So I'm thinking these would be perfect for his little nursery room. They are very vibrant and I think they have a cartoon quality to them. I'm also excited to actually try this style with more mature colours. Maybe with blacks and whites, maybe with, purples. I don't know, just more, I don't want to say less vibrant because it's not less vibrant. Just less poppy cartoon style colours and more, I think Colour by Felix actually does a lot of the colour blocks, but he adds in some shading to them as well, which obviously makes it just that bit more mature looking. I also kind of, on these first initial layers, obviously I want to stay within the lines to an extent, but if I go out with it's fine. It's more about defining the shapes properly, and some of the shapes I actually do change as well, but my brush is just a bit too big. But I like kind of using the bigger brush because I find that the brush strokes are, I don't know, I prefer the way that the brush handles, the way it moves, the strokes it makes. I think I like the fact that you have to, defining the edge, it's not as easy as just following the black line, but there's something about where the edge ends up as well. I don't know. I just found that when I used the smaller brush, it was less interesting to do, basically. I love this green. This is phthalo green, high flow acrylic paint. These are golden acrylic paints. They're the first golden product I've ever bought, and I do love them. I do think they were great, and they were great value for money because they worked out at £3.50 each, which, you know, is great. And the white paint I use is the Sennelier Abstract range, which again is a really good value paint. I do find actually that obviously with the paint sitting out at the side, it does start to dry a bit, and you do notice when you're putting the layers down that your brush dries out quicker and your edges become harder to make clean. That is just a wee tube of value, Daler Rowney kind of cheap range, orange, and it's literally just called orange, and it's got a bit of white put into it. It's actually makes a really lovely shade of orange. So my idea was to put the colours on top of complementary colours, like orange on top of blue, green on top of red, etc. I'm not sure how well I stuck to that, and obviously some of the paintings didn't have the full range of complementary colours on them. So I was thinking about the edges more. I think that when you use the bigger brush, the shape of the edge has more of a flow to it than when you're using a much smaller brush and just following the line that's there. I like the way that you can make the edge with one kind of brush stroke, and you don't get that with the smaller one. That's what I like about it. That is purple, Winsor & Newton Alizerian purple, I think. I will find out the name of that. And white mixed together, and it just makes a lovely opaque, it's very opaque shade of purple. So here I'd ran out of areas. So I'm just adding in the purple. I'm making my own shape. I'm going rogue. It's called Winsor Violet by Winsor & Newton. It is a lovely, lovely colour. I wonder if it's their own purple and that's why they've called it Winsor Violet. So this is just deep yellow, I think it's called, with some white put in it. And again, that's the Daler and Rowney value range. It's just, I do love this stage. See, putting on these second and third coats, they just really bring the colours to life. It's like putting on a second coat of paint on your wall and you just see it starting to come together. And I also love, how you're in charge of making the colours and you're kind of trying to think about shades that go with each other. So that is cobalt blue with some white mixed into it. And again, that's just another lovely opaque covering. I do think that this painting ends up looking like a giant's sort of bottom half of his leg and shoe. And once I seen it, I couldn't stop seeing it. This one's like a seahorse. It is amazing how you can just see different things in the shapes. It's one of my favourite things. You know, sort of deciphering what can and cannot be seen and what it could be and what it's not when you go to the museums. So this is that Daler and Rowney deep yellow and the cobalt blue mixed together, and there will be a little bit of white in this as well. That's a gorgeous shade of green. It's like a green grey, but it's still quite a vibrant colour. I mean, it's holding its own against those very vibrant colours. I'm excited to try more of this style of paintings. I feel like, you know when you get something new and you're like, oh, I just love that. That's what I feel like about this. And I just love about thinking about how I can take it from looking like very cartoony, and making it something more mature. I think that's what's making me excited about it, actually, is how can I take this forward? I mean, I've used the black Posca pen to outline it because it just feels like that's what it needs just now. But, hopefully it'll help me tidy up my painting skills, actually, of being able to stay within, making clean edges where you wouldn't have to outline it to tidy it up. Although I outlined it because I wanted to as well. But I think without the black line, it could still be very, very interesting to look at. Now, this is actually the yellow, the blue, the purple and the orange all mixed together to make a kind of brown, and then a lot of white added into it. And I loved this colour. It was kind of made me think of stone. It was the colour of stone, very beige. But unfortunately, I do lose it a bit because I tried to make it again and it's not right. And then I end up using a bit of burnt sienna. You'll see. It all turns out fine in the end. It's just, I really like this one. And there's definitely the quinacridone magenta and the red. Not sure, I think it's naphthol crimson. I can't be certain. The red and the magenta that come in the golden range, once they have had white added to them, they're very similar. And there was just too much pink overall, even though technically they were meant to be more representative of purple and red. They both ended up very pink. So, yeah. I just think that colour set together just works so well together. So obviously these paintings are drying as I go along. So on top of the yellow, I am just putting the high flow acrylic paint in the yellow on top of the yellow that was there. And it's definitely tidying it up. And it's bringing a lot more vibrancy to it as well. I do love that shape. See that yellow shape there? I just love that. It's actually really satisfying seeing it become opaque like that. So this is just more of that orange paint with the white put into it. So when I made these shapes, all my lines are very similar. They've got a curve to them. They're very sort of a flowing line. And I just wonder what it would be like to have more of a variety, with straight lines and corners, and also to have more organic, where there's more bits sticking out and they're less kind of, like at the moment there's only one or two kind of curves in each shape. And it would be interesting to see what it would be like with a lot of variety within one shape. See, it's definitely looking like a giant's leg. This is quinacridone gold on top of the orange. And it was just to add, try and add a bit of maturity to the orange, really. And also, whenever I put the quinacridone gold into the white, it becomes quite a kind of, it's like a dull peach colour. It doesn't go so well in the white. So this paintbrush, I don't know why I picked this paintbrush up, but I had to get rid of that fast. So that's quinacridone magenta I'm putting on top of the pink. I end up putting a lot more white on top of this colour just to try and bring it together. It's not a colour that wants to make itself one colour. It wants to give lots of variety of colours. And you know, when I watch the channel Bob Blast with Bob Burridge on it, he likes quinacridone magenta. He adds that into a lot of colours. And I was thinking about the shapes then when I was talking about earlier. The shapes I'm using are quite simple, and I was thinking about using what it would be like to use more complex shapes to make this. Now here I had picked up a brush that was very stiff bristled, and it's actually removed some of the layers of paint, which is why you can see the blue coming through under the stone kind of colour. And this is why I end up adding a lot of white to it, just to try and bring it together again. But the other thing is, as well, is I do think that having these colours underneath, you know, even though these colours are opaque and they're quite block colours, there is still different shades and values and, you know, colours underneath that will, for all you can't see them, they will make subtle changes to the colour themselves that is seen. I think it's much, you wouldn't create this same effect if you'd just done it straight onto a white background. So we are nearly finished with the painting side of it, and we will be moving on to the black Posca pen to do the outlines. You can see it is starting to come together. It's just taking a while, that colour. So, do you know, I was actually quite scared doing these outlines, and the very first one I did, I messed it up. You can see there, I'm making it a thicker line there. I do love this black Posca pen, and I rarely use it, but now that I have used it, I'm thinking, oh, I'll need to get more. This will run out and I need it. But I think you could use white, you could use gold, you could use any colour to do the outlines with. Or like I said, you don't need to use, you could get away with not using outlines as well. It's like a wiggly worm that there in the middle, isn't it? There, that's it. A bit better now. And then there. I do like having thicker and thinner areas and lines as well, because it does give more the illusion of movement, and also a bit more of a kind of, gives more form to the shape. I think this was my favourite picture overall. I think it looks like a dinosaur and a pig out for a walk. Maybe in the desert. So smooth. I did try to do this with a Sharpie on another picture, and it just wasn't the same. I think it's the flow of the acrylic paint that comes out of the Posca pen. And this is the last one. The giant's leg. They make me think of children's storybooks, actually, these pictures. So really, with a different range of colours, I just think these could be, you know, wonderful. There's also a slight landscape look to them as well, with the blue and the green and the yellow sun. And the big stone cloud. So here's the finished paintings here. I do like the texture you can see on them. Again, if you'd just done that in white canvas, you wouldn't have the same look. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.